At a time when many esports are being forced to make some tough decisions, there's a new game in town.
Going in the complete opposite part of the country. MK, fast get, but it isn't accurate.
Oh,
No,
he's done it!
MK came back. Oh my God, he actually did it.
GeoGuessr is one of the most interesting esports today, and it's starting to take off. The 2024 World Cup hit impressive viewership numbers for a nascent esport and more than quadrupled last year's numbers. It features established esports hosts like Launders, Pala, and Seltzer. And now an esports organization, Imperial, has signed World Cup semifinalist Orlando, a first for the esport. So today we're taking a look at what sets this Street View-based esport apart from the crowd and where the future might take it.
As a writer, host, and 6'5" model, the holidays are my only real chance to get some quality time back with my loved ones. At the same time, I've also been waiting 15 years for Stalker 2. Fortunately, we have partnered with Acer, who might have a solution that'll keep me making lifelong memories while also getting my game on. Listen, the holidays can be stressful. There's just so many faces to see, places to go, and in-laws' names to remember that you can forget to take time for yourself. But thanks to Acer's Nitro V gaming laptop, all of that changes. This is a powerful and portable rig packed full of specs, including an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4060 with DLSS 3.5 alongside a beautiful 144Hz 15.6-inch display. And that beefy Intel Core i9 13900H processor and DDR5 RAM, that is the key to getting you the performance you're looking for in a year filled with demanding games. Whether you're in the comfort of your own home or looking after your nieces and nephews. Acer's Nitro V gaming laptop is an all-in-one package that can help give you the most important gift of all this season, the gift of escapism. Now let's get back to today's video.
First off, the obvious question, what is GeoGuessr? And I promise I'll make it quick. GeoGuessr is a game where you are dropped onto our common home, Earth, and you have to use whatever clues are present to figure out where the hell you are.
Question is, how far north do you want to go? I kind of want to go a little north here. Looks a little, these trees look a little more northern. We'll send you the road, I think this will be fine. Dude, that might be one of my best guesses I've ever got.
I mean, there's so much to learn. Like, you could go look at infrastructure, you could look at vegetation, architecture.
Based on how close you are, you get points, or in the game's competitive mode, you deal damage to your opponent, but more on that in just a sec. GeoGuessr launched in 2013 and was a creation of Swedish IT consultant Anton Wallen. It's also still using Google Street View, an ambitious project that has photographically mapped much of the planet. The concept did well initially, so well in fact that shortly after its introduction, GeoGuessr expanded. Among a handful of others, they added Michael Fallgard, who is now in charge of GeoGuessr's esports program.
My name is Mike. I'm one of the co-founders at GeoGuessr, and at the moment I'm head of the esports circus that we're running.
The game built on that initial interest and grew over time, including a significant spike in 2015. Meanwhile, it also started to attract people who took the game seriously and focused on it nearly exclusively. But the game, as I mentioned, is now an esport. So how did that happen, and what makes GeoGuessr so different? GeoGuessr eventually supported two players playing asynchronously, where essentially you're guessing the same spots and then comparing your scores. And there was the start of some competitive play, although it wasn't officially sanctioned by the developers. Still, it showed that there was this appetite for GeoGuessr esports.
Going back like 5 or 6 years, we even saw like posts on Reddit like, oh, let's do the World Cup or something, and then there were Excels going around with people from different nations, and back then it was like, wow, this is cool, man.
Eventually, the game would shift from a free-to-play model to a subscription, driven partly by the costs of using the Google Street View API. They began to charge for that. Those costs later went up, and GeoGuessr was apparently one of their biggest traffic sources.
Google increased the prices, I think overall their APIs. It was nothing like against us in particular, but they changed their business model a little bit. And at that time, I've been told that we were the biggest users of Street View in the world, so that was obviously going to be pretty expensive.
Mike told me that they were genuinely concerned that they might have to shut down the game if fans objected to the subscription in big enough numbers. Instead, they continued playing it, and GeoGuessr was able to use that to introduce new modes and features like the Battle Royale mode.
It was a game that kind of interested me. I asked my parents if I could buy it or like pay for the sub or whatever. And they're like, yeah, sure, go for it. It's better than some of the other games that you play. So.
But in 2020 and 2021, GeoGuessr truly exploded in part due to that new mode, and increased interest from streamers and content creators helped too. The addition of a native simultaneous head-to-head mode started to build interest in more competition.
Lately, I've been really into this game called GeoGuessr. Basically, you see a picture of some place on Earth and you have to figure out where you are.
Another thing that's helped the game's popularity is that over time, some players have become extremely good at it, leading to some wild clips and memes.
You have a girl coming over soon.
No, this is Malaysia, Borneo Island. Nice. Wow.
One thing with GeoGuessr, and I can't like stress this enough, the community around it is amazing. Like they do so many stuff, and like we wouldn't be anything without the community. And they've been arranging things over the years.
At first, it was primarily community driven. Breakout star Rainbolt ran a popular tournament series for a while, Ludwig went hard on it, and then in 2022, Mike was invited to attend a GeoGuessr LAN called the GeoGuessr Team World Cup, organized by La Ligue.
Competition and viewership wise, it was a huge success, but for me, as one of the founders of the game, like I watched it and I couldn't understand anything. Like it was so complicated. They were playing 3-on-3, like different game modes that we didn't even have in the game.
Trailblazing fans had shown that a GeoGuessr LAN could succeed. But Michael and the rest of the team at GeoGuessr got to work trying to think of their own preferred format and how they might implement it. What they settled on was a head-to-head mode where players would take damage for having the worst guess, and the bigger the disparity, the bigger the damage. A multiplier that increased every round, kept the tension high, and the games between players were split between moving, no move, and no move, pan, or zoom modes. So in 2023, the inaugural GeoGuessr World Cup was held in Sweden. The winner was Dutch competitor Consus, who had an incredible run to the top. And 2024's World Cup crowned Blinky as the champion back in September. The Frenchman was widely considered to be one of the strongest in the world. And now this year, there's also a weekly format called World League, which feeds into the majors and eventually the World Cup.
40 top players are ready for 20 weeks of intense competition, during which everyone will face each other once. Every win earns points toward the player's world ranking, and at the end, the top 12 will secure their spots in the World Cup Finals in August.
There's already been a couple weeks of World League competition, so if you want to catch up, the VODs are available on YouTube. Now, personally, I think this game has huge potential. Its maximum potential audience isn't limited by violence or complex game systems. For all the talk about how Counter-Strike is an easy to understand formula, there are still parts of the game that are confusing to new viewers, and of course, there are terrorists. But your parents could play GeoGuessr and enjoy it. They could watch GeoGuessr and understand it. And they can do all of this from their phone without ever building a PC. So I wanted to speak with a competitor, someone who's already been here, to get a feel for how GeoGuessr Esports has been in the past and where it could go in the future. So I sat down with Canadian GeoGuessr pro Nathan Fau Pfeffer, also known as Fungus or Fungus Among Us, to get an idea for how GeoGuessr has been going.
I'm 20 years old. My name is Fau, and I'm a professional GeoGuessr player. I also am studying engineering physics here in Hamilton, Ontario at McMaster. And yeah, I've been playing GeoGuessr for like 6 years now. I became a pro about 2 years ago when kind of everyone else became pros, when the professional scene started. And I've attended 2 World Cups, done pretty well in them, and I hope to do well in the next one.
After gaining enough recognition in community-run tournaments, Fau was able to compete at the World Cup. He made top 4 both this year and last, and experienced plenty of dramatic turns along the way.
We're in like a green field, and there's a hill in the distance. And you could kind of make out some houses on the hill, but like not really. And so I was like, I really don't want to lose this, because if I lose, I go to NMPZ, and that's his best mode. I make a guess kind of based off the houses that you can see, and I'm in the wrong country, but I get it right.
Oh, I almost like Ukraine more, so he could be wrong in the wrong country. Is it Russia? Is it Ukraine? Is it Romania? Where are we?
We're about to find out. Oh, foul!
He pulled an Amen!
Unbelievable!
He pulled an Amen!
But it's more than just the clips. Players like Fau have to learn a lot about the world. Some might even argue too much. That's because in order to succeed at high-level GeoGuessr, you have to know a lot of stuff. Road markings, signs, power poles, even dirt color can be a clue that will help you in GeoGuessr.
I forget what kind of sign. It was some sort of chevron, like to mark the bridge. And the post that was holding it, the metal post that was holding it, was rectangular instead of like a circle. And that really pointed me to South Australia. I think it's only South Australia where you can get that combo.
But the best players are able to identify countries partly using the image's other qualities. Stuff like image clarity, the color of the car, or even the year of the copyright.
Which Google car drove in which area? Like, is the color blue or is the color red? And that part people don't like. And personally, I'm not a big fan of it. And so for me, that's one of the harder things to learn.
Now, the World League format that followed the 2024 World Cup was implemented pretty quickly, and there were some criticisms of it, namely the fact that all of the money is locked up in tournaments later in the year. Now, after feedback, players earn money from every win, too.
Then for each game they win, they also get $50. So that's another way of like supporting a little bit. For a lot of these people or like players that are students, that might be like winning a few games might actually like help a little bit to put in the time that they need.
Mike told me that they're at least planning to double the total amount of 2024 prize money, which was $100,000, but also got money from crowdfunding through the sales of esports items, and all of that went directly to first place at the World Cup. And they're also looking at a variety of sources, not just esports ones, for ideas on how to improve the production for both viewers and players. As I alluded to just now though, there are still some concerns about the World League format. Right now, if you're a no-move pan or zoom player, you have to get to a decisive game 3 to play the mode, because game 1 is move and game 2 is no move. Some players are better at or even specialize in certain modes, so I really do get the criticism here. For example, against good moving players, some competitors lock in a guess as soon as possible to put their opponent on a timer and get them out of their comfort zone. And while some have argued that these different disciplines should be split up, for now, they remain entangled. Now, both pro players and GeoGuessr have a new question: how esports orgs fit into all this. After all, at the first 2 World Cups, there were no sponsored players. Players wore their country's colors. But with Orlando now being signed by Imperial, the relationship between orgs, the players, and the developer is an open question.
We don't have an official statement on it, but I think it's important for, as I said before, for the players to like make a living somehow and actually put in the time and evolve the sport and their skills even more, to have the capacity to do so. And I think organizations could be necessary in the future to support some of the players.
For Fau, he's potentially interested and even thought about pitching himself to an org.
I've actually thought about reaching out to some organizations and trying to kind of pitch myself to try to get signed. I know I was seriously considering reaching out to Jason Lake and like trying to pitch, trying to do like a little sales pitch, but I'm not sure about it yet.
The question for him and many others at this stage is how exactly this would all work. Fau is doing an intensive university program, so full-time content creation isn't really an option.
Content creation is not really my sort of thing. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't, it's never something that's interested me, and so like if I was forced to do it, I don't know, I would want to put out like high quality content, and if I was forced to do it, then like I don't know if I'd be putting out that sort of level.
So where does this all leave us? I think there's a lot to like about the future of GeoGuessr. Its potential audience could be massive, and the game churns out crazy clips that pop off on social media. There are still challenges too though, like how to get the game and the ecosystem to a point where pro players could do this as a full-time thing. But in my opinion, the future for this game could be huge. The question is whether this nascent esport can find its place.
I don't know. We need to figure out like the balance going forward, because I know that we can attract like the Counter-Strike players and the Dota players. They love to watch this, but we could also get their parents to watch this, which is like amazing. It's maybe the first mainstream esport that's like a bridge into esports for the general public, maybe.